legacy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here, and today's guest is Shane Denham. He's the police chief of the city of Anniston. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Get you a pen. Be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. I'm still Ken Rollins. Today's guest is Shane Denham. He's the police chief of the city of Anniston. And we've got a lot of things to talk about, so let's get to it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. It's good to be here.
It's been a lot of years since you've been here. It was 6 years, something like that.
It's been a while.
And you sent a stand-in?
I sent a stand-in last time. That was a mistake, I know.
Yeah. No, what I want to start off with is watching what happens in court cases locally and state and nationwide. It seems to me like the days of just an investigator just looking over here and getting some fingerprints or something like that, or saying there's some blood stain. Things just have to a whole lot more technical nowadays. Would I be right to say that?
You would be right. You know, back when I started, a man's word was his bond, and that's all it took is police officer's testimony on the stand. Of course, you still need that today, but juries are much more educated than what they used to be, and they want to see technology, things that they've seen on TV. Yeah. They want to see videotapes. They want to see DNA evidence, and things of the sort. Sometimes you do have that. Sometimes you just don't.
You seen the OJ trial? We watch it every day, and the letter DNA became prevalent back in that time. And I remember one of your investigators, Travis Bentley, wasn't it? That's what he was doing back in the day, and he was talking about back then how he's. You really got to have your stuff together when you go to trial, because
that's right.
You got these attorneys out there that's their job is to defend their client, and they come up with all these different ways to prove that it wasn't the killer or whatever, the messenger, and that the law enforcement officer was the guy that caused him to shoot that guy or whatever. It's always like, and I just been watching that, seeing it. It seems like it's more technical nowadays that you got to really prove your case. If I can get the control room to pull this up, we got a golf tournament coming up here, and I want to talk about that before we get too far into the program. And it's it should be up on the there it is up on the screen right there. A guy we got a good swing in that too. I don't know who he is, but whoever your model is, he's got a pretty good swing. And this is going to be October the 25th at 1 p.m. out at Cane Creek there on McClellan at Galloway Gate. It's $75 a person, 2 mulligans included. 3-man scramble, paid flights. And lunch is going to be provided. What you going to have for lunch?
I don't know. I didn't ask them what the menu is, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of it, because we've spent a lot of money on door prizes and a whole lot of different things.
And we got the numbers to contact 256-453-1992, 256-591-4453. I know that's Mr. Kirby there, so y'all call in 453-1992 or 591-4453. What's that? They can take that down. But what is the funds going to go to?
Well, some of my guys came to me that are on our SRT team, and they had a couple of things. They wanted to help raise some money for the First Tee, which is on the pamphlet there, and that's a program that's a joint venture between Parks and Rec and the Anniston High School. It's a mentoring program where it involves golf, and but mainly it's a mentoring program. So some of the money's going to go towards it. Some of it's going to go to outfit some of my guys with some SRT gear.
What are you needing in the way of SRT gear?
We need a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most of our stuff is outdated. We've talked a little bit about the DRMO program, or the 1033 program, which we take full advantage of that, and we've got some military issue equipment through there. Some of it we have to buy. We need some helmets. We need some new shields, and just numerous things.
Special response team, is that what that is?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that was one of our, we was talking off camera about Justin Solahub, and I'll mention that in a minute, but that's going to just go right on into that, about the 1033 program. That's the, after Ferguson, the president at the time removed the 1033 program. A lot of the equipment, the law enforcement was receiving old equipment that had been going to be thrown away or chewed up for free. It had already been paid for by the taxpayer.
That's right.
And it was used as a defensive, and I need to make sure everybody understands that's all defensive. And when Justin Solahub was ambushed and killed, y'all were out there into the high weeds in a 113. The sheriff department had one then, an Army personnel carrier. And as I remember it, the perp was just a few feet away.
That's exactly right. We were in probably a 2 or 3 square block area that was totally wooded and briars, and it was just not passable. We called the sheriff's office, and they were Johnny on the spot. You know, they brought that piece of equipment out. Actually, I think they had a couple of them, and it was invaluable. You know, and that's something that, like you said, it's already paid for by the taxpayers. We can't afford something like that. It's astronomical.
And it didn't have a weapon on it.
No, absolutely
It's
not.
just for transportation
Just
and
for
protection.
That's right.
And I posted something on Facebook yesterday for, I think it went to something like, all you pansies out there got these cushiony jobs. When's the last time you had to put on body armor to go to work? You know,
that's exactly
that's
right.
the most uncomfortable. I mean, hot as it is nowadays, you got all this body armor on you, and to sit down and relax like I do in my recliner, it's just impossible, you guys, to do that. You know, I had a state trooper come to our board meeting down in Montgomery one time. We had a fellow that was acting up, and he couldn't even sit in the chairs. He had so much stuff on him, and I got thinking how uncomfortable to go into a restaurant or somewhere and have all that stuff on there. But it's to protect you, and that's what this military, they call it military equipment. Oh man, well, I'm gonna get my feelings hurt if I see
That's
it.
right.
But let me tell you what, if they're held hostage, they want an M1 tank coming.
That's right. It's not only to protect us, it's to protect the citizens that we serve, because you know, we use that to stand in between them and the bad guys. And trust me, there are a lot of bad guys out there.
Yeah. I just said, how many jobs do you have to put on some kind of protective equipment? I mean, of course, I wore a hard hat to get around a construction job, thing like that, something that was going to accidentally hit me. But y'all wear that to keep people from intentionally shooting you, things like that.
That's right.
That's the. I don't know how much time we got, where we are in the program here. So we, I talked about that, but I saw that the President Trump had lifted that. So now you can get that equipment through that program if you qualify. And somebody says through, you can go through under the Freedom of Information Act and find out all about it. There's nothing being hid.
That's right.
It's not like you've got something that, but I know that Oxford has robots. Do you have any robots?
We do have one. We did not get it through that program. You can get them through that, and I know Oxford has many that they've got.
It'll knock on your door. It'll open your door. It'll go on in. It'll do things to you if you don't surrender.
That's right.
So and that's not to harm somebody. Sometimes if somebody's got the kids at danger and stuff like that, and I had rather have an officer go to the door and let him fight another day than to go to the door and say, oh, he took a bullet to get this bad guy, you know. And you had some of that over in Anniston there at one time. We had a couple of officers that got wounded.
We've had quite a few in my career. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's something I hope I never have to see again.
Elizabeth Street, what I was
That's
thinking,
right.
yeah.
We had 3 in one night that night.
Yeah, that's and that's you have in Anniston, you've suffered more than in your part. But we was talking about with Justin Sullivan, and I noticed something as a civilian that right after he was killed, the cities and the counties and the state and everybody came together, and it seemed like it was a better time for everybody had let that. So his death was not for naught. That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
He brought a lot of things together. Well, we got to go to a break. We always want to get into the meaty things, but we got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk more with Chief Dittup. Stay where you are. Welcome back to Veterans Issue. We're talking with Shane Denham, the Chief of Police for the City of Anniston. We were talking about that military equipment, our military-looking equipment, and some of it is body armor. Some of it, they don't have drones yet, do they? You haven't seen any.
I haven't seen any. They very well might have some on there, though. It's not something that we've sought out. We do actually have one, but we didn't get it from there.
You got a drone?
We do.
And I asked you off camera about the cameras, the body cameras. You said you've had them way back there, and I did not know that. So
yeah, we've probably had body cameras 10 years. I guess when George Monk was city manager, that's something that he wanted us to look into, and we did.
Well, that's back in the 20s when George.
It was a long time ago.
I hope he's watching.
Yeah.
But no, that you got the body cameras, but everybody you stop's got their own body camera too. They got an
That's
iPhone.
right. everybody's got a camera these days, and it's walking around on their hip or their hand or whatever.
And that leads me to what I was going to ask you. I watched a lot of it on Facebook, social media, and I watched it on TV where the people are stopped by an officer for a tail light out, weaving over the line or just something, and they first thing you do, they ask for the license. And they refuse to do that. And when you refuse that, those licenses don't belong to you. I found this out just recently. Your driver's license belongs to the state that they were issued in, right?
That's right.
And they come up about my constitutional right. What do you call them? A sovereign
Citizens?
Sovereign citizen?
Yeah, they first brought that up many years ago. And a lot of people think they have a right to drive. You absolutely do not. Driving is a privilege in the state of Alabama, and it's not your right.
Yeah, but for is that sovereign privilege to not show your license, that doesn't exist.
That does not exist.
So a lot of people are getting in trouble because they escalating something, just a minor pull over. And I was talking to one officer the other day. He pulled over a fellow for weaving, and what it was, the guy was shuffling for some stuff in the control.
Right.
And he allowed his car to go over, but the officer didn't stop him for thinking he was bumming. He thought maybe there was something wrong with him.
Right.
And he stopped him as a health check thing to see if you're all right.
Something we've probably all done before.
Yeah, and it escalated into, you had no right to stop me, I done nothing wrong. You crossed over the line, sir. And well, you're going to give me a citation for, and it went like that when it was all to do with, I just want to make sure you're okay, that you're not dizzy and and because a lot of people have accidents from a health issue.
We run into that situation all the time.
Do you?
A lot of accidents, yes. People that are on the way to the hospital or having a medical episode, whether it be a heart issue, diabetes, we run into it all the time. Alzheimer's, people driving don't even know where they're at. It happens.
You have a lot of young officers that's out there just starting their career. Do you have to give different kind of training to them now before they go out on the street? You talk to them about
It's
how to deal with that?
It's constant training because, especially in our department, on our lower end of our department, we cycle a lot in, a lot out because we historically have been a training ground. We're trying to change some of that with some better benefits and better pay and things like that.
Are you hiring now?
We're absolutely hiring now. We're always hiring. We have 3 vacant slots today. We're anticipating that we'll have at least 5.
I'm going down there after the show. So.
All right, come on, bring your resume in. Don't use me as a reference, though.
How about my track chair? Can I use?
Come on, bring it on.
There you go. That's something I was thinking about the other day when I was telling you about coming on here. I was thinking about these young officers. Who would want to go through school and get their education and say, I want to be in law enforcement after what they see with the attacks on law? I mean, it's like it used to be, and I ask you this. When you was a young man, I'll ask you again, when you was a young man, would you ever thought about putting your hands on an officer of any kind?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Because my daddy would have killed me. He was the law. He was the law. There was
but he
no need
wasn't
for
in
law
law
enforcement. There was no need for law enforcement in my
Thank you.
neighborhood. He was it.
Thank you. That's what we're missing today. But that's been about, I was talking to a group down in Anniston not too long ago, and they asked me, so when did I think we lost this like it? And that was like 3 generations ago. 3 generations past us, when the hippies from Vietnam and all that stuff, it started with the supper at the table at 5 o'clock just went away. And mama started going this way to work, daddy this way to work. The kids say, I got a problem, I can see your daddy. Go to daddy, say, go see your mama. Next thing you know, and then Saturday I've worked all week, I'm gonna go fishing, so I ain't got time for you. There's nobody out there, those generations just watered down. And I've used the analogy, if you keep putting enough water in a cup of coffee, after a while you don't have a cup of coffee anymore. And we don't have the obedience, and we don't have the fear that I had of officers if I put my hand on them, but I never was afraid of them as to see them. They were the savior to me if I needed them, but I'd also was scared to death. I wouldn't ever thought about putting my hands on one.
Right, absolutely, and that's what our court system's for. If you have a problem with an officer on the side of the road is not the place to argue your case. That's what the court system's for. That's what the whole judicial system is about. You can't win when you're on the side of the road.
You got that right. I had a lot of things here I want to talk about. Is let's see, the young people that are playing the videos at home, and they've been desensitized about death. They've learned the more arms they blow off, the more heads they blow off, the the more points they score. So killing somebody is not the same today as it was back in the day. Would you agree?
That's exactly right. And that desensitization, that's exactly what our military uses when they're training our young troops.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing that they're using. And a lot of young kids, 7, 8, 9 years old, they're doing this exact same thing, and mom and dad aren't paying attention, and they're doing the same training program that our troops are doing.
I was in a parking lot of my chapter house building one day, and a young fellow walks up on the porch of the house next door, and he rang the doorbell, and as soon as he rang the doorbell, he started shooting into the overhead fixture, and the stuff was falling down around him. And he emptied a clip, and I'm not talking about pow, 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 I'm talking about pow, pow. 8 shots, pulled out the clip, slapped another clip in, and looked at me like, what are you going to do about it? Well, I called the police, and they knew exactly who it was when I gave him a description. He just turned 18, but he was the leader of a youth group gang. And I was told that to be in that gang, you got to shoot into a house or shoot into a car to be in the gang. And he just turned 18. Broad daylight, sitting there shooting him, and I said, what have we
That's
turned?
crazy.
Yeah. And if I'd have said something, he just put his clip in, he wouldn't have had any thought about shooting me. And my gun was way over there. So if it had been no dual OK Corral situation.
That's why you always want to keep it in your
Thank
pocket.
you. But there again, I could have missed him too, and he probably was a lot better shot than I am. But it just bothered me that this kid was out there in the middle of the day, and the neighbors told me that guy owed him some money.
Really?
So that's the way he comes to collect his money. And what else is going on at Anniston that I need to know about, or the public need to know about y'all doing there? You got any programs going on in-house that
Our main thing we're focusing on right now, well, there's several things we're doing. Right now we're updating our departmental video. We're trying to do a lot more recruiting, so we're updating a video, which is one of the reasons why we bought our drone. Well, we're using it for that, and we're also using it for some traffic accident. The situation we had over here on Henry where the 18-wheeler went through. That was the first time that we used it on an actual scene, and it was pretty invaluable. You could get an overview of the entire scene, and you could see exactly what happened in that traffic accident. So we're working on that. We just recently updated our departmental recruiting video. As you can see, a lot of this is geared towards recruiting. We need some bodies, and we need some good people.
Well, if you're out there, if you're interested in law enforcement, I suggest that you contact Chief Denham. You can find him in the book there. I ain't going to give out to you. Cell number. Yes, I will. I'll do it later when you're looking. Thank you for coming on the show today.
I
I
appreciate
hope
it.
people learned a lot. And again, if you're looking to get into law enforcement, start that out with Chief Denham. We got to go to a break. Come back. I got news that you can use. Get that pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. I got some news that you can use, and I want to start off by giving you the VA hotline. This is the new line. It's been out a couple, 3 months now up in the White House. It's 855-948-2311. 855-948-2311. Now, that's the number you can call for anything veteran, and especially if you got someone that's that you know of is having problems and might be suicidal, you can call that number too. There is a number for suicide hotline, but this number you can use for the same purpose. If you know someone that's facing hard times and thinking they might not be stable, it's a good number to call. So keep that number handy to give to your neighbor or whoever you think might need that. So, and if they need something about benefits, that's another number to call too. And I really want you to write this down. This is a website that you can help a lot of folks. I used them last week. It's called Wounded Warriors Alabama. One word, Wounded Warriors Alabama @gmail.com. Wounded Warriors Alabama, all one word, @gmail.com. The phone number is 256-458-2715. 458-2715. And that's a group started by Ross Winter. And if you got a veteran out there in need, you don't have to be a wounded warrior, but if some wheelchair ramp or anything like that, a veteran in need, give them a call. They help a lot of people that people don't even know about. They're real low laid about that, and nobody don't know about them, but I'm told you about them. So it's a good organization, and thank Ross for doing that. Next week we'll start, I hope, you'll see somebody digging up there in the park, and they're getting ready to build a official firefighters memorial for the state of Alabama up in Centennial Memorial Park. So just in case you got a question about that, that's what's going to be going on over there. And we'll put all the firefighters that lost their life in the line of duty, their names will be placed on that memorial. And and I've been talking to you about wheelchairs, power chairs, not these push type chairs, but the ones with the batteries in them. If you got one of those you no longer need, I got veterans that need them, and they don't qualify through the VA program or any other program to get a wheelchair or power chair, but they like to ride them to their mailboxes and drive up and down the street. And I hope the chief didn't hear that, because they're not on the street, they're actually on the sidewalks. But they go up and down the street to gossip with a neighbor, and they can't do that if they don't have the tip chair. So if you got one that's no longer needed, give me a call, I'll come pick it up. I've done give out about 5 this year, so let me know if you got one. The flu fair that we've talked about, the VA has one at behind Logan's at the VA clinic there in Oxford on the 29th of September from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Get your pneumonia shot also. And anything else that you're going to have like blood pressure check or anything, that's a flu fair, but they could do other things while you're there. So that's September the 29th, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the clinic behind Logan there in Oxford. The law enforcement tag has been very good to us with the revenue coming from that, that we've been able to build the law enforcement memorial with that and some other things in the park up there as a result of that. So when you get ready to buy your new tag, consider that, because it says I support law enforcement who died in the line of duty. You do not have to be in law enforcement to get one of those tags. So consider putting that on there. I love it when I see those around the area. So with that shield and the rose is a symbol that you support law enforcement, especially those who died in the line of their duty. So think about that the next time you go to renew your tag. So look at the law enforcement tag. Drivers for the DAV van that takes veterans to the VA hospital, we still need some of those. And the choice card, we're going to talk more about that. I'm going to have somebody on here. They've got one of the mental health places over in Birmingham is now accepting the choice card. We're going to talk about that here in a few weeks. So we got to run. They tell me I'm running out of time. So this week's salute goes to all those who put on the uniform down at the Anderson Police Department, male and female. And for those who sit behind the desk and make it run, we appreciate you too. So this is a salute for you. We'll see you next week on Veterans Issues. We're gone.